Guy Channel, the Car Guy Channel. My name is Mike Hennessy. This show is all about cars and all four car guys. Get yourself a cold beer. Get yourself a cold beer, guys, because our show is... We are smoking! I'm Mike Hennessy, and you're watching the Car Guy Channel. I have an auto repair shop. I've been in the business for over 30 years. You name it, we got it, we built it, we've done it, we do it. We love this car stuff, and I hope you guys do too. We're gonna have a lot of fun, got a lot of stuff cooking, so just stay tuned.
You know you make me wanna shout, kick my heels up and shout, throw my hands up and shout, throw my hands back and shout. Come on now, don't forget to see you will. Don't forget to see you.
Welcome to the Car Guy Channel. We got a fantastic show and a lot of really cool stuff we've been showing you as the time goes on. Things we've been building on, things we're working on, things we're finishing, all sorts of cool stuff. We got this 33 Plymouth I'm just really excited to show you. And the electric vehicle. We get so many emails on it. I'm actually blown out of the water of the interest in it. And then I want to take you guys into this Graham Hollywood that I've been building and purchased a car out of Oregon and finally get this car back on the road and back into shape. Hey, there's a few things we're doing this year here for Hot San Jose Nights. And there's a few things we're doing really with the city. We are honoring all car event producers. Anybody who produces an automotive car event in our local Bay Area, we want to go ahead and hear about you and give you an award. There's quite a few clubs involved. There's Tiger Turnick from the Saratoga show. There's Alan Greenberg that works with History Park with the vintage cars, and the list goes on. Of course, we have this classic Chevy club that does their fantastic charity drive. And of course, we got the T-Birds, we got the Mustangs. We got all these clubs are already involved in going and getting an award really from the city. And the mayor, and of course, people like Dave Cortese and other politicians said they've got to find a way to thank these guys and gals that go ahead and help produce these shows for parades. And we want to thank all of you for participating in all these Veterans Day parade, 4th of July parade, Christmas parades all over and stuff. And you guys and gals come out there and get your car ready to go. And we want to thank you for that. But hey, sit down, get yourself a cold one, and enjoy the show. I'd like to bring you up to date on the 1941 Graham. Now, it's actually called a Graham Hollywood. Now, back in the early days, Graham only started out in 1930 and went all the way to 1941. So they had a good 11-year run, but it was one of the cars that caught on but didn't catch on. They originally came with a six-cylinder, big six-cylinder, and they had a choice of supercharger or not supercharger. This car here originally was a four-door. Yes, a four-door sedan. 1941 did not have a two-door car, but this right here is a 1941 Graham that was actually cut. The body was cut right in half. Two doors were installed onto the car instead of the four doors, and the whole front end is completely remodified. Insurance attorney's company called us and said, hey, we got a car. It's in a warehouse. The guy passed away. He's the only one that really knew how to finish the car. There were so many things we had to do. We actually had to remove the body back off the frame. And we kind of had to go back to scratch in a lot of areas. The Cadillac North Star engine in the car, the fuel injection system, was really just totally outdated. And we had to start from scratch on this. So we had to come up with a new computer, new rails, and turn this motor back into a fuel injection driving motor with the transmission, with the 700R transmission. A lot of great things have been done to the car. And I know there's a lot of people out there that like airbags. Let me take you over a set of airbags and I'll show you what we're doing. Here's the famous airbags. Why I'm hacking on these airbags. This car here was originally done pretty much maybe about 15, and I don't want to say quite 20 years back, probably 98 or 99 when the construction design was being done. Well, they went ahead and ordered these airbags. Then airbag suspension. I'm not a very big fan of airbag suspension because of the safety reasons. If a hose breaks or an issue happens, the car just pretty much just gets uncontrollable. It drops. Unfortunately, on the right front of the car, that is exactly what happened. One of these airbags here gave out, the right front of the car went down, wiped out the fender, and that's why we're back to body work and matching the paint with House of Color paint. I replaced the airbags with actual coil springs from Mustang 2 front suspension. And we were able to go ahead and get this car here just a tad over 7 inches, and that's what happened. This whole fender completely ruined it when it slammed down to the ground. So I have 7-inch clearance now, and I think the wheel clearance is great. This car here will be actually a good, safe, and a very nice driver, back with the suspension and back on the road. Got to show you some of the cool things in this car I think you're really going to like. We got the fuel injection system finally running really nice. We went ahead and got the correct injectors. They didn't have the right stuff. Sometimes they went some street rod stuff that just sometimes just doesn't work. And I like American-made parts for this stuff. This Cadillac North Star motor is absolutely beautiful. We'll be polishing all the aluminum on it. And you can see a lot of stuff we had to do custom made is making all the stuff up here. These are the welding that's put on here is phenomenal. We actually sent this out to a local welder we know here in town to go ahead and do this on the aluminum to make this really nice. We left the hood off the car just to give you an idea, you know, really where the grill goes and the hood that goes on, the big side panels on the car, alternators buried in there, single drive pulley. So figure when this thing here was designed in 1995 to start the process on it in the late 90s, you can go ahead and see that their design was really ahead of its time. And now, of course, we're playing catch up with a lot of stuff. And I think it's coming out absolutely spectacular with the slanted windshield up here. Kind of has a Duval look, if you know what the Duval windshields are. And that's what kind of really probably prompted him to do a Graham car. And the Graham Hollywood, it was just unique. But the whole front end of this car is all custom made. These fenders, there's two fenders that's actually welded together. It's welded right inside here, how it comes down to the center. And the 41 nose and everything is completely different. And Graham is very famous for the shark nose. And I'll show you a picture of what a shark nose looks like. And a shark nose car has a completely different look, but that's what Graham was noted for in those years. So coming up with this custom setup, we got to show you the grill. This grill is all handmade. This thing has taken hours, and the patience to make this has been just mind-boggling. But this looks beautiful on the car. It sets right into the channel there that we left open for you to see. The hood comes right on the top of it. I'm telling you, this Graham really looks absolutely spectacular with this setup. These type of lights, we have the rims being re-chromed on it because we did the paint touch-up on the car. This is going to be ready for one of our big shows coming up, and I think it's going to do really well because it is so unique. Doing unique cars, I mean, there's a lot of Fords, a lot of Chevys and whatnots out there. But when you do a car like a Graham or Graham Page or some really interesting bodies that were designed, I don't know, it puts somebody's looking to scratch in their head. What the heck is it? Well, it's a Graham Hollywood. Kind of neat. And again, the attention to detail of things I really, really liked. I figure this design, again, I keep bringing up back in the late 90s, but this is the type of door handle that was on. A lot of the stuff is custom made. And the way the doors open, it just sounds beautiful. Now look at the leather interior in this car. It's just total show quality. And when you see the dash, it's pretty much in awe. It's fantastic. It's very, very cool. You get these Cadillac bucket seats that are in here. They're not power, but they are Cadillac bucket seats. You get a full billet steering column. And the handwork and the leather work and the stitching, this car is just first rate. And that's pretty much about the way we did get it. We had to do the work on the back of it, and that's what made a pretty big difference in the car. Now, the way to really appreciate this car is to actually see or know really what a Graham looked like or what a Graham's all about. We're going to post up a couple pictures for you to show you what an actual Graham looked like back in 1941. But these fenders here have been completely cut, all modified, and these here were actually molded and welded to the body of the car, and then all the molding work put onto here. Same with the back of the taillights. These things right here are actually carved into the fenders to put these rear taillights in. So the customizing on this is absolutely top drawer, and it's very, very, very spectacular. See the grooves that they come in here, the way the trunk is done, and it comes into the V. And of course a Cadillac engine emblem was put on the back because this right here is Cadillac powered with a North Star overhead cam V8 engine, fuel injected. I'm telling you, it just spectacular. Wait till you see this at one of the shows and hear it run. And you see how kind of some of these little tiny back windows are put inside the back of these cars. It's just a look they've had. You see that with Hupmobile. You see it, well, obviously with Graham. You see it with Page. And a few other models of cars out there that actually had these type of windows. Cord was very famous for that on the back of the car. It had that real high-end look on it. I just think it looks really nice in the car. This right here is a customized car that I think is going to turn out absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to show it to you when I'm finished. I have been so excited to show everybody this car and, of course, the owner. This is not my car, but it is my design. And when I was talking to Jenny, we went to lunch over the great Fiorella's restaurant next door to our shop, and we talked about this 1933 Plymouth. I love cars with a history. I love cars with a story because that's what this whole car thing's all about. And this happens to be a 1933 Plymouth, and it's a two-door coupe. It's a 5-window coupe, and it was an original car. Very original car. And the car came to us, and we met with Jenny. It was a very difficult car to drive. They are. The classic early car, vintage cars are very difficult to drive for a lot of people. Now, some of the older folks look at this, watch it, goes, oh, no, I drive my Model A or Model Car or whatever it may be. Yes, but there's a charm of them that is there. But she wants to use this car for longevity and wasn't really into the street rod world, but wanted the car to be modernized. And that's really where the money's at nowadays. And that's really where this world is heading to with a lot of this stuff in the industry. So we sat down with Jenny and told her what we're thinking of doing. We decided to go with a Chevy 350 motor with an automatic transmission. And I think it was the right choice to go on it. So then we talked about air conditioning. We talked about power steering. We got rack and pinion steering. Of course, we talked about brakes. So we have disc brakes in the front, and we actually have power brakes that are actually inside here. Now, here's kind of the clue, and Jenny's heard this from day one since we started to build this car. Doing this type of car is a lot different than doing a Ford car. There's a lot of parts availability is a little different, the fit's a little different, but we were able to fit a Chevy 350 in here. We do got headers on it. We do have fuel injection, the Edelbrock fuel injection system. We have the MSD ignition. And so a lot of things had to be custom made just to make sure that it fit this car. One of our biggest challenges was the radiator in the car, to fit the radiator. We left the grill out of here so we can actually show you the radiator, the condenser on the tight quarters that we actually are working with. They look like they might have a lot of room in them, but they really don't. But let's stick to the motor. Now, the motor itself being a Chevy 350, we went ahead and did a single serpentine belt. And the reason why we had to do that single serpentine belt is because of the distance we had from the front of the motor to the radiator. You can see how this belt that we were talking about with the serpentine belt is actually, we used the word jammed in here, and how close it is to the motor and at how it is close to the radiator. We were able to get that fit, and our fit is pretty darn close right here in the front, right on this particular fan. But you can see it's really tight, and it's really, really there. Now, we went ahead and installed a Mustang 2 front suspension. They do not make one for a Plymouth. I'll tell you right up front. So if you're calling one to get one for a Plymouth, they do not make one. You got to order one by the width of the frame, and then you go ahead and customize that particular channel of the Mustang 2 front suspension, because we wanted coil springs and we wanted disc brakes and we wanted rack and pinion. So we go ahead and did that. We had to measure the inside diameter and the outside diameter of the frame. Make sure you're clear when you order. We ordered this from Heights. Heights went ahead and set us the wrong setup at first. We had to go ahead and get the other one. One thing led to another, but because they don't make one for a Plymouth. But this is some of the challenges that we had. But you can see how this motor here is kind of shoehorned in here, just to go ahead and make the fit of the fit. Same with the exhaust manifolds. We had to go headers and go closer to the engine block to make this fit work. You're going to see this box unit, this container. This right here is a container that holds the brake fluid. Now, the master cylinder and the power booster are underneath the car. They're underneath the driver's seat. Well, this right here, lift the cap off, fill it with the brake fluid as you need, and we actually went ahead with steel lines. When they send these things over, the word called kit, and I hate to say it, I hate to use that word kit because it's so universal, and they do it sometimes. Some of the things are so inexpensive or cheaply done, and I don't care for it. So we went ahead and said the plastic lines, we went with steel lines going to the master cylinder itself. So these right here are the two steel lines that go to the master on the bottom. It's a great way in case you need to check your fluid, easy to get to. Instead of removing the seat, removing a plug just to see what it is. And this right here is for the power steering. And I thought that came out really pretty cool. This right is for the power steering. We can go ahead and check the rack and pinion steering right up here. So service in the car, we made this car here service friendly, user friendly, and that's a lot of the tips we went ahead and tried to do and to go ahead and design a car. So a lot of these little things did add up in cost, add up in time, but I think in the end result, we got one hell of a 1933 Plymouth two-door coupe. All the things we needed to do to this car besides getting the motor in and doing this is the wiring. We brought this car up to a negative ground system, 12 volts, of course. I think we'd crazy to go any other avenue, but obviously 12 volts, and we had to run all new wiring. We built it from a company that sends something out. It's a fantastic group of stuff. It's called Quick Wire. They give a pretty good amount of voltage for us because the fuse box allows us to have so many different fuses to operate the system. These headlights right here, that's a custom panel inside, and the turn signal bulb is actually mounted inside the lens of the car. So this right here, so we have headlights, we got turn signals, and all these little things that make a big difference in the car because, of course, I always say this word, which you know where I'm going to go, safety is always the key for number one on this. So this is kind of a neat little option on it. Very cool. Now let's get back to these wheels. Now the original wheels were on this car were a wooden spoke rim. And the wooden spoke wheels, and of course they had options with the artillery wheels. Now this is what we needed to have. Now a wooden wheel on a car with a motor with nearly 300 horsepower is not a good idea. So we went ahead and went with an all-steel artillery wheel. Now these are here original rims. These are not reproductions. We tried to find reproductions. But see, what Jenny had on the car was these fantastic, gorgeous Goodyear tires. Now these right here are a 16-inch. It's a 600 by 16, and they don't make a reproduction artillery wheel for a 16. We wanted to save these tires on this car, so we went ahead and powder coated these so they will hold up for road grime and all the stuff on there. And we made custom clips to hold these custom caps on the car. Now, if you notice, we kept this all interior completely original with the mohair door panels, the mohair seats, the headliner, everything inside this car is just the way we got it in. But we did change the steering column. We went ahead with an I Did It setup on it with a smaller steering wheel, so there's a little more room inside this car. And it is a tilt setup, so we can go ahead and move the steering wheel up and down with the stick shift lever. We left it up here, nothing on the floor. The air conditioning is going to go ahead. That's going to be a little more modified to be fit a little better toward the dash. But you got to keep something in mind. There's not a lot of room in here, especially for a guy like me to fit in here. You can see the gauges in the dash. We went with a nice original, the antique style gauges, but they're all set up for 12 volt. We got the speedometer, we have our tach, we have everything we need to do. We actually put a key ignition switch on the dash, and we kept everything original as we could, and of course with the floor pedal. We had to remove the clutch pedal, obviously, because it's not a stick shift car, but with the power brakes, it's going to make this car here a nice driver. I think the insides came out absolutely great. And with the dash, we did a wooden center for the gauges, like I mentioned. And you can see the cab. It's a real small cab in here. But check it out. It looks really good, even with matching colored seat belts. Remember, keep it safe. When wiring this car, now we're not totally finished with it. We're kind of showing you pretty much about 95% there. So the touch-up works for some wiring in the dash, the center cap for the steering wheel. But here's an item that we had to go ahead and do, of course, to keep that word safety still strong and let you folks know I'm serious about it. Now, we had to find and come up with this piece. This had to be casted, and we needed a one for the right-hand side. If you know much about your vintage cars, they only have a brake light on the left side of the car, on the driver's side where they have the license plate. There's not a brake light on the right side. So if we're going to put brake lights and tail lights in this car, we put a matching set. Probably no one would ever really know the difference, but we had this piece here casted to fit this car, and these right here are actually Ford Model A type lenses that look pretty much identical, just the size was a little different. These are actually a better fit on the car. So we actually have a matching set with this particular piece that was recasted to match the driver's side on the car. So now we have brake lights, turn signals, and I think we're safety and we're ready to go. Now, we ran the dual exhaust tips. It was really a big challenge also, because remember, there's not a lot of room under this car. So we went ahead and ran the tips on, obviously, the left and right in a pretty big distance, and just come straight down on the bumper edge, so where you can see that. They're this far away from the gas tank. We had to wrap them up with an asbestos just to kind of keep it cool, so there's air going to flow underneath there. And I feel we're going to be really safe. All our lines are in there, and these tubes are ran inside the frame rails. That's kind of the way it needs to be to give us the room that we need. We got the drive shaft, and we got fuel injection lines, we got all new brake lines, and plus we did actually incorporate an emergency brake in this. So there's a lot of stuff to engineer in this car here that are not sold in the aftermarket world. We have to create it and make it. I think with exhaust tips coming out the back, this makes this a really fantastic car. There's a part I look for when I do the show or actually build one of these cars, especially for a client. This would be a car the way I would actually do the car. I really love the way Jenny went about it, and I'm just extremely excited. Now, the next week is the big day. The big day is the grand finale. We go ahead and take this here for a drive on the freeway, see how we're doing, check for leaks, check for this, check for that, check for rattles, the whole 9 yards. You guys all know out there, guys and gals that have built this stuff around it. There's always a glitch somewhere. We will find them all and cure them all. And this is the way it is. So 1933 Plymouth for my good friend Jenny, and I'm really proud to build this car, and I'm looking forward to the big drive next week. Hey, let's check out and see where we are with that electric car. What do you got?
I got a 72 Chevy pickup. I put a lot of work into. I've been doing body work. I've been doing the motor work. It's running pretty good.
And the guy said you got a 64 Chevy?
My best friend's got a 64 Chevy.
That's pretty cool.
I've been working on since probably sophomore year in high school.
Tudor hardtop?
It's a 4-door.
And 4-door, I got some 4-door 57 Chevys in my collection
4-door's
now.
the way to go, really.
4-doors work when you go out. If you trim them out, kind of cool. Hey, one of the shows we did a wagon for a guy. These guys are in kind of like a club. Pontiac station wagon, 4 doors. Because the 2-door hardtops, the convertibles, let's face it, they're almost unbuyable. They're getting tough. Well, for the average guy, I mean, that's a lot of dough to start spending and stuff.
It's like the Del Rey.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Or a bubble top.
Hard to
409
find.
double top, 409 type stuff. Pretty big stuff. Hey, good. I got my orders of parts coming in. Let's make sure to get all you guys in there. We just got to let people know that, you guys aren't, I don't want to say, it sounds terrible, but you guys aren't the goofy parts guys. You know what you're doing. So if a guy calls up for a part, if you don't know exactly what he's talking about, you give him to someone who does, or they give him back to you. So I just kind of want people to know that. Hey, take care, bud.
All right, man.
Tino's old records off the shelf. I sit and listen to her mama say, today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. Don't try to take me to a disco. And never even get me.
I got to bring you up to speed on this electric car. Now, I'm going to have to be the first one to say on the show, ever on the Car Guy channel, to say I apologize. I had no idea how much interest there is actually in the electric vehicles. Ton of emails on this electric car. And there was an article that was actually written in the paper about the new Tesla truck. And someone actually in the article went ahead and mentioned there's a place in Santa Clara that's building an electric car on an early 1962 Ford Falcon, and that obviously is us. But fortunately, Scott is a great owner of this car, and he had a quest to go ahead and do this. We finally got the glass in, we painted the car, we painted the wheels, brand new tires on the car, and we got the inside done. And I think the car is turning out really nice when Scott goes ahead and gets brand new bumpers, new emblems, and he's given it this whole look. My painter went ahead and finished this car in a base enamel paint. I think it looks actually fantastic. And these cars, you don't talk about horsepower, you actually talk about foot-pounds of torque. This thing here will probably go an easy 125 miles because we actually installed 14 Tesla batteries. That's going to give this car here a lot of longevity and where it needs to go. And the motor underneath is underneath the batteries. I think it's just done extremely well. Without Scott's design and help with this, it's something we actually sat down together with Ed and myself, and Raul custom made all the bracketry for the batteries that sit in this car. This is really pretty neat. But I'm going to show you a few things that you haven't seen on this car that we've actually gotten done. And I want you to go ahead and take a look at the inside of it. We got the seats, we got the carpets, we got the headliner. Let's check it out. You probably noticed that we actually added 2 more batteries behind the back seat. We want to go ahead and reach the 150-mile range is what we're trying to do, and hopefully we get a little bit more, but I'm pretty sure we're going to go ahead and reach that. But what's going to help us reach that, and of course with the driver in the car, we actually have the gauges in here, and if they zoom in there, you can see a little bit about how much battery life and how much power we actually have on these gauges. And of course on the other side is just the gauges that actually operate for this. We put a BMW transmission in it, so we'll be able to get a speedometer, and of course, with the steering, we have one of the steering wheels in stock, and it does have a clutch, and so it's actually a clutch-driven car. I think everything inside the dash really looks really nice, and you would really never know it until you really start looking at it, how unique it is, and how the attention to detail. And without Scott's support and help on building this project, and he's just been so helpful in getting the parts we need and really making this really what it is. I think this should be pretty much at some of the shows here in the area, and I think it's going to draw a huge crowd. All our brackets are finally made, and we are actually wired in now. This thing here is ready to drive. You can see it's all wired in, and we replaced all these pieces inside here. These are actually the battery fuses. And these battery fuses can be a challenge. Now, we actually made a mistake on this. The way the wiring was done, I'm not picking on EV West or not picking on anybody here, but I think it should have been a little bit more clear on how some of the wiring is supposed to go. These fuses, we blew, I don't know how many of them, but figure if we have 14 batteries, I think we blew at least 7 or 8 of them, and they're a little expensive. So the cost of doing this can be a little bit on the high side, but again, it's one of those type of projects that money is really not the equation to doing it. It's really finishing the project. This came out really neat. We got the 6 batteries in here. We got the 6 batteries under the hood. We'll show that to you in a second. And of course, the 2 that's behind the seat. Really kind of cool. We got 6 batteries under the hood, and the whole power plant's there on the bottom. Now, this unit right here is actually a cooler, and this right here is ATF, automatic transmission fluid, that runs through here, and that helps keep the cooler cool. And that's actually the transformer. Little fan inside here. There's a lot of little tiny things that are underneath here that has a lot to do with it. Now you'd really wonder why does it have an actual car battery? 12-volt battery. But you need a 12-volt battery for all types of items in the car that run on 12 volts, not on the voltage of the electric car itself. A little complicated to go into on the show, but just gives you a little bit of a hint what you would need to be going through if you're going to be building an electric car. 12-volt battery will operate all the lights. You got the headlights, you got the turn signals, you got the brake lights. If you decide to have a radio, if you decide to have windshield wipers, dash lights, horn, all these type of items will all need to be ran off of the 12 volts. Now here's the kicker, which is really kind of cool. When this thing here is actually operating, this battery gets charged from the operation from these batteries in the car, which is really a thing that I really want to make sure we were totally clear with the company when we were getting this and knowing what we were up against. And then it has a charger. The charger is on the inside underneath the cab, like you would have where you have the heater unit on it. Now, this car does not have a heater. I'm not saying that's a positive or a negative thing, but it doesn't have a heater. But there's a charging unit over here that goes one back there, and this right here is a charging unit for these batteries here. I'm telling you, that's what a fit, and the way it goes in there is pretty spectacular. Let me show you where we put the plug to charge this. It's kind of neat. Obviously, it doesn't take any gas. And here's where the gas cap was. We had to come up with some creative way to go ahead and hook up the charger cord to this. So when you go to the shop, ready to put this thing here away for the day, this right here is how you open it up. And you plug it in and you walk away, and these batteries charge up and be good for the whole next day. I do feel this right here will get 150 miles. I'm pretty sure it should. And the neat thing about doing the Ranchero versus there's a lot of cars you can do. I've seen a lot of the Porsche 914s done this way. There's a handful of cars, a Carbon Ghia. I've seen a pretty good size group of all kinds of different makes and models that people have done the conversion to go ahead and make them sort of runner and driver. I think the Ranchero, and I think Scott's idea, was absolutely one of the best concept vehicles you actually can use. Now, Volkswagen had a little tiny pickup truck at one time. They had little diesels and whatnot in those. Those are a really good source also. This still can be utilized as a truck because you still have a lot of back space back here. You still got a tailgate that lifts down to be able to use that. We'll be making a cover for those batteries there, about a wooden type cover, so no complications. This right here, you still got a truck and you still got an electric vehicle. This is going to, the usability of this is going to be fantastic. A lot of little things we did to go ahead and get the length of time off these batteries. We used a real narrow tire. We were really concerned on the weight of the vehicle also. And we did put in a BMW 5-speed transmission. So we actually have almost like an overdrive that's going to really kind of take a lot of the wear and tear off of the electric motor in the car. So all these little telltale things, if you are going to do one, sit down, talk to some people who have done them, get a hold of EV West or other companies that made them. Do all your homework. I really stress that big time. Do all your homework. And many that are being done, the technology is getting better and better and better. And of course, and the knowledge of doing these things here are getting better also. So building one of these is really a cool project to do. And if a father and son project to do, and you really want to be something kind of neat and something that he might get involved with, or he or she, to do a project like this, you cannot go wrong. It would be a lot of fun, and you'll have something that's usable, and it is what technology is today. Electric cars are here, and they are here to stay. Check this thing here out. It's a pretty neat piece. I hope you enjoyed the show. You see all these cars, all the work being done. We got Raul doing his customized. We got Ed doing his thing. We got Danny K doing his thing. We got a lot of stuff happening going on. I mentioned earlier, get your car serviced. Give us a holler if you need to get things serviced. That's what you got to do. Just because they were built at a certain day, they still need oil changes. Hey, God bless you, and we'll see you next time in the next show.
So come go with me. Come into my heart. Tell me, darling, we will never part. I need you, darling. So come